And we're going, and here we are. Okay. Welcome. Good to see everyone. This is our see-through podcast, episode 9, Kamsa's Reign of Terror. It's our devotional podcast where we help each other and everyone in the process kind of make it through this devotional exercise and practice that we call life. We have our live viewers in our Zoom room. If you'd like to be a part of the Zoom room, you've got to join Patreon. And then we also have our live viewers on YouTube. And I'm sure, yep, we have our regular. Ashi is already here. Ashi is usually on it. So we'll be continuing with Krishna book. We're still in chapter 1. It took us a while to get through the intro. Now it's taking us some time to get through chapter 1, but I promise it's important. And today, so we're going to continue with chapter 1, but we're also going to talk a little bit about some of these key players that we have been meeting. This one is called Kamsa's Reign of Terror. So it's going to be about Kamsa. We're going to find out who was this brother of Devaki? How was he born? And why was he such a terrible problem person? Because what you don't hear of is anyone else in Devaki's family having these issues. Devaki's a good child. She gets married. Everything is fine. You hear about Vasudeva's family. You hear about Ugrasena. No one else has any problems. Just Kamsa. So we're gonna find out what's the deal with him and why. How did things go so far? So without further ado, we will begin with a little mystical incantation. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. I instantly feel more ready than I was just a moment ago. Let's see. I'm always about the background music. So I'm just trying to see like which one. Let's try this one. That sounds really nice and calm for Kamsa's Reign of Terror. Maybe the music will help distract from the atrocities. So for Kamsa's description of Kamsa's strength and Kamsa's Reign of Terror, we have our trusty Garga Samhita. This Garga Samhita can be found on Amazon. I highly recommend it. If you're a person like me who really loves details and is constantly wondering after you hear a certain story, well, who is this? And why would they do that? Garga Samhita is usually the place that tells me all of those things. So many. So yeah, it's available on Amazon. And it's so worth it. It's like the most condensed, beautiful encyclopedia. There's also an expanded version with commentaries available from the Rupanuga Vedic College and Donavir Goswami. He's still in the process of translating some parts of it. So it's not complete, but there's several books that are completed with commentaries. And that is wonderful because you get to see the Sanskrit, right? This condensed form is without the Sanskrit text. So there you get to see the actual Sanskrit. You get to see the verses if you want to sing the verses. If you're one of those people who is happily challenged by Sanskrit text like me, like I find it challenging in the best way. And you actually want to sing along or say them or recite. There's so many prayers of protection that I've begun saying for myself and others. If you've ever had me say a prayer of protection for you, I guarantee you it's either come from Krishna book or this Garga Samhita. At some point, I've said them. So yeah, there's so many. And you can say the English, but if you wanted to look at what it would sound like in the Sanskrit, you'd just really get a feel for it. It's so good for that. And those books are, there's so many, there's at least maybe 10 or 12 of them in the expanded version. But this one I like because it's all in one. And I can take screenshots of the pages and carry it with me digitally whenever I need to travel. So the description of Kamsa's strength and his kind of reign of terror will come from here. But we'll see. We kind of left off in Krishna book at a very pivotal point. Vasudeva had just promised all of his unborn children to give to Kamsa, to do with whatever he saw fit, whatever. And sometimes we might be thinking like, how did you expect this to work? Basically, at that point, he was on like damage control. If we can just save Devaki's life so that we can get to a point where we have children to even get to the point that Kamsa's afraid of. So we kind of left off, and just at that point, Vasudeva had promised all the children. Krishna book continues. After due course of time, Vasudeva and Devaki gave birth to 8 male children, as well as 1 daughter. When the first son was born, Vasudeva kept his word of honor and immediately brought the child before Kamsa. It is said that Vasudeva was very much elevated and famous for his word of honor, and he wanted to maintain this fame. Although it was very painful for Vasudeva to hand over the newly born child, Kamsa was glad to receive him. But he became a little compassionate with the behavior of Vasudeva. This event is very exemplary. For a great soul like Vasudeva, there's nothing considered to be painful in the course of discharging one's duty. A learned person like Vasudeva carries out his duties without hesitation. On the other hand, a demon like Kamsa never hesitates in committing any abominable action. It is said, therefore, that a saintly person can tolerate all kinds of miserable conditions of life. A learned man can discharge his duties without awaiting favorable circumstances. A heinous person like Kamsa can act in any sinful way, and a devotee can sacrifice everything to satisfy the supreme personality of Godhead. This was always a very interesting realization for me, because when you hear, there are people and they think, if you hear that God is always waiting to save you, doesn't that give people just license for bad behavior? My thought process is always no. Because if you have somebody like Kamsa, whether you give them permission or not, they're always going to find abominable ways to carry out their behavior. It's not like us giving them permission or telling them, God's waiting to absolve you. Oh, that's just what I was waiting for. Great, no problem. No, they were going to do it anyway. They were not looking for absolution in any way, shape, or form. But it does go to show how merciful our Krishna is. Always looking for a way to save us, no matter what. Even if we have committed the most abominable actions. Let's see, because that's a point that I want us to hold on to. Kamsa became satisfied by the action of Vasudeva. He was surprised to see Vasudeva keeping his promise, and being compassionate upon him and pleased, he began to speak as follows. My dear Vasudeva, you need not present this child to me. I am not in danger from this child. I've heard that the 8th child, born of you and Devaki, will kill me. Why should I accept this child unnecessarily? You can take him back. When Vasudeva was returning home with this firstborn child, although he was pleased by the behavior of Kamsa, he could not believe in him because he knew that Kamsa was uncontrolled. An atheistic person cannot be firm in his word of honor. One who cannot control the senses cannot be steady in his determination. The great politician Chanakya Pandit said, never put your trust in a diplomat or in a woman. Those who are addicted to unrestricted sense gratification can never be truthful, nor can they be trusted with any faith. Now I know. We're going to say, wait, whoa. What do you mean? Never put your faith in a woman. Okay, he said diplomat first. Okay, can we say that he said diplomat first? There's other people in this category. And the question is why? When you see it, there is something about diplomats and also women. They're eager to please others. And in pleasing others, now sometimes with diplomats, this gets tricky, right? Because the pleasing others is for their own personal gain. But when you get sometimes people who are so eager and willing to please others, you ever seen it? And then you try and talk your friends down. You're like, this is hurting you. But this is not good for you. But I just want to make them happy. But this is at your own detriment. Like, you're not thinking clearly because you want to just merge into the thought of the other person. Boundaries. Keep the boundaries. And we try to tell ourselves and our friends, but sometimes there's a thing about people pleasing. And sometimes I like to think, with diplomats, like I said, the motives get shaky. But I like to think that with women, the motives are always one of like goodness and divinity, purity. But yeah, we can see how you could have this swaying of the mind, but not in a bad way. Not something to be ashamed of. Not something to lament over. This swaying of the mind is because we are eager to make sure others have a more pleasurable experience. Eager to soothe the minds and hearts of others. So that's my commentary, my own personal purport on that, because I know, I see it. So in this same vein, Vasudeva is like, okay, I'm happy, but I'll believe it when I see it. Like, I'll believe it when I get the child home and all is well. Because who knows what Kamsa will do. At any moment, his mind can change. And if his mind changes, my fate also seems to change with it. So let's see. Okay. So people who cannot be trusted with any faith, right? At that time, the great sage Narada came to Kamsa. He was informed of Kamsa's becoming compassionate to Vasudeva and returning his firstborn child, whose name we actually find out. They named him Kirtiman, which means like the abode of all fame and glory. Narada was very anxious to accelerate the descent of Lord Krishna as soon as possible. He therefore informed Kamsa that personalities like Nanda Maharaj and all the cowherd men and girls and the wives of the cowherd men in Vrindavan, and on the other side Vasudeva, his father Shurasena, and all his relatives born in the family of Vrishni of the Yadu dynasty, were preparing for the appearance of the Lord. Narada warned Kamsa to be careful of the friends and well-wishers and all the demigods taking birth in those families. Kamsa and his friends and advisors were all demons. Demons are always afraid of demigods. After being thus informed by Narada about the appearance of the demigods in different families, Kamsa at once became alert. He understood that since the demigods had already appeared, Lord Vishnu must be coming soon. He at once arrested his brother-in-law Vasudeva and Devaki and put them behind prison bars. Within the prison, shackled in iron chains, Vasudeva and Devaki gave birth to a male child year after year, and Kamsa, thinking each of the babies to be the incarnation of Vishnu, killed them, one after another. He was particularly afraid of the eighth child. But after the visit of Narada, he came to the conclusion that any child might be Krishna. Therefore, it was better to kill all the babies who took birth of Devaki and Vasudeva. This comes back to the point I was making earlier. The fact that giving evil-minded people a pass does not give them permission. They were going to commit atrocities. However, Krishna is always looking for any reason or excuse to give us his mercy. Narada was afraid of this very facet of Sri Krishna's. And so he looked at this one compassionate act and said, whoa, whoa, whoa. If Kamsa starts acting piously, all this will do is delay Krishna's advent. Because Krishna will think, no, the situation is not so dire. This demon can be reformed after all. And so Narada was thinking, let me do something that will expedite Krishna's appearing. There can be no room for compassion with this person. If you ask me, it's kind of stinky on behalf of those like 6 children that died. That part stunk. And Vasudeva and Devaki being in jail for that long. Like that part stunk. That wasn't great. Because they were in jail for a long time, decades. They were there for a long time. They were there for the year after year after year after year waiting for the 8th child. And then Krishna was in Vrindavan for 11 years. They were still imprisoned. They don't get out until after Krishna comes in and liberates Kamsa. How? We will find out in the pages of this Krishna book later. But, so, they had to move with absolute faith. Everyone is moving with faith. Everyone has an idea of who their supreme person is, and they're moving on the faith of who that supreme person is. Narada knows. I know my supreme person. He's looking forward to saving people however he can. So he's looking and saying, Kamsa being compassionate, even a little, this is delaying the advent too long. We already needed Krishna 100 years ago. Now we've already got Kamsa. So this is why he goes and instigates Kamsa to further kill all of these children. And I say this because it can be really weird. Narada's the good guy. Samhajan. Like somebody we should pray to and take spiritual advice from. And now he's going and telling a demon, they said that the 8th child would be the one to kill you. But these demigods are crafty. How do we know when they started counting? Kamsa's like, what do you mean counting? I know how to count. Everybody knows these. Yeah, okay. You have 1 through 8. You're counting on a line. These crafty devas, they don't work linearly. They're cyclical. And on a circle, this point could be number 1. But this point could also be number 1. Anywhere you go could be number 1. Depends on where you start counting. Any of these children could be Vishnu. And you know, Vishnu is the most crafty. He's killed so many great demons. Like, we don't even have to begin making a list. Everybody knows. This is a good guy, instigating Kamsa along the path of unrighteousness, but for the purposes of expediting the advent of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is when I look at all of these things and I think, yeah, this divine arrangement is above my pay grade. I am one small jiva, and I can understand about this much. And because it always confused me when I was younger. I was like, they were almost home. He had little Kirtan. Right? He was almost there. And then Kamsa does a complete about face and kills the baby. And all the other babies after that. And I always remember just thinking, like, how horrific. What a thing to have to witness as a mother. And who can you run to? Because this was the brother that was supposed to protect you like his own child. Who can you run to? This is your government. This is your family. These are your seniors. The whole situation is just bad. So whenever I feel like the whole world is ganging up against me, I kind of feel like, yeah, well, seems like when Krishna starts saving his people the most. Huh. I'm in a good situation to be saved, Lord. Then here I am. Are there flares? Do I hold up both hands? What do I need? So let's see what else Kamsa does with his reign of terror. This action of Kamsa is not very difficult to understand. There are many instances in the history of the world of persons in the royal order who have killed father, brother, or a whole family and friends for the satisfaction of their ambitions. There is nothing astonishing about this, for the demoniac can kill anyone for their nefarious ambitions. Kamsa was made aware of his previous birth by the grace of Narada. He learned that in his previous birth he was a demon of the name Kalanemi, and that he was killed by Vishnu. Having taken his birth in the Bhoja family, he decided to become the deadly enemy of the Yadu dynasty. Krishna was going to take birth in that family, and Kamsa was very much afraid that he would be killed by Krishna, just as he was killed in his last birth. He first of all imprisoned his father Ugrasena, because he was the chief king among the Yadu, Bhoja, and Andaka dynasties. And he also occupied the kingdom of Shurasena, Vasudev's father. He declared himself the king of all such places. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the first chapter of Krishna, the advent of Lord Krishna. Woohoo! We did it! But now we have to get through the actual other reign of terror. We have to backtrack. So from Garga Samhita, we hear, it starts with a question. There's a king who asks none other than Narada. Who better to recount this story than Narada, who recounted this story to Kamsa himself? So there's a king who says, who was this very powerful demon Kamsa? O great sage, please describe his births and activities. Sri Narada said, at the time of churning the milk ocean, a great demon named Kalanemi fought with Lord Vishnu and was violently killed by him. When Shukracharya revived Kalanemi by means of the Sanjivani, the demon yearned to fight with Lord Vishnu again. On Mount Mandara, which is made entirely of gold, he performed severe austerities, drinking durva grass juice and worshipping Lord Brahma. If any of you have ever had wheatgrass, imagine deciding that you were just going to live off of that as part of your austerities. That's austerity. And if any of you have been keeping up with Spirit Matters, the podcast, you know how I feel about food. You know how I feel. I feel so deeply. Okay? I care so deeply about food. So this austerity is really, it's austere. When 100 celestial years had passed, all that remained of Kalanemi was his bones inside an anthill. Brahma then appeared to him and said, ask for a benediction. And so Kalanemi replied, may my death not come from the hands of any of the demigods who have Lord Vishnu as their root. Sri Brahma said, O demon, the benediction you request is difficult to attain. Still, I will grant it. Okay, backstory. Lord Brahma has a history of giving some boons to some people. It's not great. The boons he gave to Hiranyakashipu, who tried to then destroy his 5-year-old son in a fit of anger. And then God had to come in a most magnificent form never before seen and never since seen again. Like the caliber of which, was never before seen, nor can be seen afterward. And at that time, Lord Nrsimha, this wonderful half-man, half-lion form, it's stated that he turns to Lord Brahma and says, O lotus-born one. Right? He won't even call him by his position. Won't call him by his name. Just reminds him of how he was born. O lotus-born one. You should not give such benedictions to demons again. Lord Brahma says, got it, boss, no problem. And then he continues to give problematic benedictions to demons. So if you've ever been engaged in a service and you're thinking, what if, I know I'm working on certain things, but these are patterns and they're difficult to break. You're not alone. At least there's that. Everybody has a thing. So now Lord Brahma has given Kalanemi boons, which I'm sure that he probably should not have given him. From the womb of Ugrasena's wife, Kalanemi attained another demoniac birth. Even in his childhood, he would regularly fight with great wrestlers. Desiring to conquer all directions, Jarasandha, the king of Magad, set up camp at different places by the side of the Jamuna. Now we're going to talk about a great many demons, and I If you have the ability, we should write it down. Just write down a note of the names of the demons that you see, because they come up later. So it's always fun. Okay? So first we have Jarasandha, king of Magad. So he set up camp at different places by the side of the Jamuna. At that time, the elephant, Kuvalayapida, there's another one. We're going to want to remember that one too, who was as strong as thousands of ordinary elephants, became angry, broke his chains, and ran from the camp of Jarasandha. So Kuvalayapida was originally an elephant residing in the camp of this Jarasandha. Kuvalayapida went to the mountains and entered a wrestling arena where Kamsa was fighting. When the other wrestlers fled, the elephant approached Kamsa, who then grabbed him by the trunk and threw him to the ground. When Kuvalayapida attacked once more, Kamsa threw him into the midst of Jarasandha's army some 80 miles away. 80. I can't throw anything 80 feet away, but 80 miles. Becoming very pleased by seeing this amazing display of strength, the king of Magad gave his 2 daughters, Asti and Prapti, as well as the elephant Kuvalayapida, to Kamsa. As dowry, Jarasandha gave 100 million horses, 100,000 elephants, 300,000 chariots, and 10,000 maidservants. This is why you need a palace compound. Because you have a whole village. You have like a small village of people that just came as dowry. Thereafter, being very proud of the strength of his arms and eager to fight, Kamsa went all alone to Mahishmati. Chanura, Mushtik, Kuta, Shala, and Toshala were the sons of the king of Mahishmati. So we have Chanura, Mushtik. You definitely want to remember those 2. You have Kuta. He bears remembering, but we'll get why later. Shala and Toshala. These are all the sons of the king of Mahishmati, and they were wrestlers who were very eager to defeat their opponents. Kamsa calmly said to them, "Let us fight. If you win, I'll become your servant. If I win, I'll keep you as mine." All these great wrestlers agreed. When Chanura rushed at him, Kamsa made a great sound and threw him to the ground. When Mushtik rushed at him with ferocious punches, with one punch, Kamsa knocked him to the ground. When Kuta rushed at him, Kamsa knocked him to the ground, grabbed his feet, and violently threw him into the sky. When Shala, waving his arms, rushed at Kamsa, Kamsa caught him by the arm, pulled him down, and dragged him about. It's like one great MMA cage fight. Next, Kamsa grabbed Toshala, knocked him to the ground, and by the power of his arms, threw him a distance of 80 miles. So I guess that's like a thing. That's a marker. If you can throw somebody 80 miles, you must have a title for it. It's like one benchmark is 80 miles. Now let's see what's the next benchmark. In this way, Kamsa made all of the wrestlers his servants. And on my advice, because this is still Narada speaking, went with them to Mount Pravarshana. After challenging him, Kamsa fought with a gorilla named Dvivida, yet another demon that we'd like to remember. He fought with him for 20 days without becoming tired. Dvivida then uprooted a mountain and threw it on Kamsa's head. I know I didn't give you any spelling hints for any of this. You're just gonna, we're all we're stumbling through it together. We're gonna go with it just as best you can, because we're gonna bookmark this page, because as we come back, some of these characters will be making key appearances. And I just want us to remember how heavily they fought with Kamsa, so that when we see them pop up again, we can it'll impress on us some things. So Dvivida then uprooted a mountain and threw it on Kamsa's head. Kamsa also grabbed a mountain and threw it on Dvivida. See, now I was thinking that was special. I was like, whoa, he threw a mountain on his head, but then Kamsa just did the same thing. So now this is just a thing. It's not special anymore if everyone can do it. Dvivida punched Kamsa and then jumped into the sky. Kamsa chased him and threw him to the ground so that he fell unconscious. Dispirited, weakened, and his bones broken, Dvivida also became Kamsa's servant. Next, Kamsa went to Rishyamukha forest, where there was a great demon named Keishi, who had the form of a horse, whose whinnying was like thunder. So now, okay, everyone knows Kamsa does this thing. He sends a host of demons to Vrindavan all throughout Krishna's childhood years to try and kill him systematically. So some might think, how did you know all of these? This is how. Walks about conquering others. So Keishi had the form of a horse. By punching him again and again, Kamsa subdued the horse demon. Mounting it, the powerful Kamsa rode to Mount Mahendra. Kamsa uprooted the mountain, Mount Mahendra, held it high, and then set it again in its place. Indeed, he repeated this 100 times. My question is why? Why are you bench pressing this mountain? Why? He's trying to catch the attention, very annoyingly might I add, of one specific personality. Thereafter, he finally saw Lord Parshuram, who was as effulgent as the sun at the time of disillusion, and whose eyes had become red with anger. So Parshuram is an expansion of Lord Vishnu. And his origin story is not happy. After the celebration of his birth, basically, it's not happy. It's filled with a lot of anger and angst. And then he goes on a divine killing spree. He looks around and says, these warriors are not fit to be warriors. And so then he kills them all. To be fair, they had robbed his family and killed parents. So it's like if God had the really bad version of the Batman origin story. Right? So then these warriors, these kings, they go and they kind of steal from his family and kill his parents. Looks around and is like, you know what? Enough. I don't have to take this. And so then he kills them all. All. As many as he can find in India. And they say some of them flee to different places what did they say? They said places like Greece and Egypt, which I thought was really cool. Very cool, right? So cool. Isn't it awesome? Bhagavatam is so cool. So they start fleeing. And he leaves just a little bit alive, so that they can make more warriors. And then he checks in. You better yet? No, not better. Woke up, chose violence, no problem. And then he kills them all again. He does this for 21 generations. 21. His name before was just Ram. Ram means one who is a reservoir of pleasure. Okay? He was just Ram. But then he got an axe, a battle axe, which is called a Parshu. And so then he became known as Parshuram. Because wherever he went, the battle axe went. And then he killed people with it. So this is the same Parshuram. After the 21 generation killing spree, he looks around and says, all right, finally, seems like there's a good batch. We'll let them live this time. This is the same Parshuram who goes and he says, well, I'll meditate. And so he meditates on the top of Mount Mahendra. Now Kamsa comes and is just agitating him, just moving his mountain all around for no reason, just so that he can get to see him. How do you get his attention? By being as annoying as possible. And then you hope to God or him that he doesn't kill you for it. So now Parshuram is here. Kamsa bowed his head before him, circumambulated him, and then fell at his feet. Becoming pacified by this, Parshuram, his eyes appearing very fierce, said to Kamsa, I'm going to read that again because I really want us to impress upon ourselves. Becoming pacified, Parshuram said to Kamsa, this is the man pacified. Okay, we ready? A worm Oh, baby crab, you are as insignificant as a mosquito. This is when he's pacified. This is him on a good day. Like he's nice and soothed. What? Today, I will kill you because you are a wicked Kshatriya who is falsely proud of his strength. This great bow by my side weighs 100,000 baras. Lord Vishnu had given this bow to Lord Shiva so that he could defeat Tripura. So that I could kill the Kshatriyas, I received this bow from Lord Shiva. If you can string this bow, I will not punish you. But if you are unable to do so, I will destroy your strength. This is the man when he's happy. Nope. This is why, on Akshaya Tritiya, which is actually a very, very auspicious day, also known as the birthday, the appearance day of Parshuram, I'm always very reverent. There are some. Krishna is my best friend. We have a very informal relationship. There are some manifestations that I joke with, and there are some manifestations I'm just like, it's fine. It's okay. Just bless me from afar. We okay. Just let me not do anything to make you upset, because this is how he speaks when he's happy. You are as insignificant as a mosquito. Okay? The demon Kamsa picked up the bow, which had been made from 7 palm trees. Also, remember this bow of Lord Shiva. The bow of Lord Shiva it's important. As Parshuram looked on, Kamsa easily strung it. Well, thankfully for his life. Now it is time to string for your life. Indeed, he drew the bowstring back to his ear 100 times and released it, making a thunderous sound that reverberated throughout the universe. It made the elephants that support the directions tremble and caused many stars to fall to earth. Yes, in Vedic cosmology, you have cosmology. You have elephants that hold up the directions and support the foundation of the universe. Elephants who can also become visible and invisible at will. They're also huge elephants that have many, many, many tusks. I mean, why not? They're mystical. They're magical. If they were just regular magical elephants holding up the directions, that wouldn't be so fun. We have to make them as amazing as possible. So these are the elephants. Those elephants come up again, but not because they're demons. Just because that's how the foundation of the planet and the universe soul creation works. But you'll see, there's quite a few demons who make their way to these elephants. And I'm like, you literally traveled to the ends of the universe to look in for a fight. But okay. After putting the bow down and bowing again and again to Lord Parshuram, Kamsa said, "O Lord, I am not a Kshatriya. I am a demon, and I am your servant. Indeed, I am the servant of your servant. O Supreme Person, please protect me." This incarnation of Vishnu, Kamsa is amassing all of this power to kill Vishnu as he prays to Lord Vishnu. Make it make sense. Make it make sense, demons. But we'll continue. Lord Parshuram was pleased with Kamsa and gave him the bow. Sri Parshuram said, "Whoever breaks this bow of Lord Vishnu will kill you." Kamsa bowed down before Parshuram, but he had become very proud, thinking, "No king can fight with me. They only bring me gifts." Thereafter, on the seashore, Kamsa saw a demon named Aghasura, who had a serpent's body and was licking his tongue and hissing. When the serpent came and bit him, the fearless and very powerful demon king Kamsa jumped on it and began squeezing its neck. Aghasura is another one we want to remember. In the east, a great bull demon named Arishtasura fought with Kamsa, just as one elephant fights with another elephant. With its horns, Arishta uprooted a mountain and threw it at Kamsa's head. Kamsa then took a mountain and threw it at Arishta's head, which we already established was not a very big thing for Kamsa. He's been doing this since day one, throwing mountains, taking names. That's what he does. Then, with a single punch, the great demon Kamsa made Arishta fall unconscious. After this victory, Kamsa went towards the north. There, being very eager to fight, Kamsa said to Narakasura, who was also known as Baumasura, two-named demon, Pragjotishpur's very powerful ruler, who was a son of the goddess of the earth. So Narakasura is a demon who was born of the earth, the very same earth who had just journeyed to Lord Brahma and said, whoa, we have a problem. I need help. Like a supreme level of help. So this Narakasura Kamsa said to Narakasura, O king of the demons, please give me battle. If you are victorious, I'll become your servant. If I am victorious, I will make you mine. First, a very powerful demon named Pralambasura fought with Kamsa. There's another demon. We have a very long list, right? Kamsa was thorough, okay? Pralambasura fought with Kamsa. They fought as one lion fights with another lion. Finally, Kamsa wrestled him to the ground and then threw him into the city of Pragjotishpur. Next, another demon, ready for it? Named Dhenuka, came and grabbed Kamsa. With fearsome strength, Kamsa angrily threw Dhenuka 800 miles. We've graduated from 80 miles to 800. Jumped on him and crushed him with many hard punches. On Narakasura's order, another demon named Trinavarta pulled Kamsa into the sky and fought with him 800,000 miles above the earth in outer space. Okay? I don't ever want to hear any of us comparing these puny little politicians to back in the day demons ever again. It is an insult to demons. We do it all the time. Oh, our modern government, they're just as bad as the demon. Whoa, whoa, whoa. On behalf of the Demon Coalition, I'd like to say, I want you to take a whole step back. Hold it right there. Sit down. Okay? The demons are like, nah, hold my wine. Let me show you what demons do. They're like, you have not begun to be troubled by demons. They're fighting 800,000 miles in outer space. How many? 800,000 miles. 800,000 miles. I don't even know what that is. I can't even compute that. We were talking about Putana. And when Putana dies, she becomes 12 miles long. And my Guru Maharaj said, planes only go about like 8 or 9 miles into the sky. And I was like, no, that can't be right. Like 35,000 feet sounds like so much. Nope. That's it. So 800,000 miles? I don't even know where they are or how Kamsa is breathing. Well, I do know how he's breathing because he just told Parshuram. He's like, I'm not a Kshatriya. I'm a demon. Interesting thing, before we finish this chapter, why was Kamsa such a demon? How did this because Ugrasena had many other children. They didn't have problems. Why did this kid have issues? So Ugrasena had a queen. Her name was Padmavati. This queen Padmavati was in her garden one day, and there was a yaksha. A yaksha is a mystical being. They can be sometimes mischievous. They're quite like woodland beings. So if you had to think of like the fae, right? You ever hear like modern fantasy novels and things? You got like fairies, but like the fae, they're like hardcore fairies. They're not like Tinkerbell fairies. They're like the will go and is an army and will defeat you at war fairies. You've got yakshas. Yakshas can change form. Yakshas are the servants of Kuvera, the god of wealth. They have lots of mystical abilities. They can grant benedictions. They can curse people. They can do all kinds of things. Sometimes you never really know whose side they're on. Their allegiances kind of change depending upon what they want at the time. So there was one yaksha by the name of, I think his name is Drumila. And he sees Padmavati. And he thinks she's very beautiful. And so this Drumila comes disguised as Ugrasena. And he sees her. Oh, my wife, everything's not right. Now, see, I'm seeing it connecting. Everybody's like, oh, snap. That's right. So this Drumila disguised as Ugrasena, the husband of Padmavati, they enjoy an encounter. And then somewhere along the lines, Padmavati's like, wait a second. Something's off about you. And she's quite upset. And then she begins to, I think she curses this Drumila, but he also curses her. He says, just, you think you'll be free of me, but you won't. This child that comes from this union will always remind you of the parentage. He's going to be a demon. So the cursing and the counter cursing didn't work out so well. This is why we have Kamsa, born in a seemingly wonderful dynasty. But this one bad seed. So that's how we get Kamsa. He has some divine parentage, but not in the best way. It's like wonky divine parentage. So they fought in outer space. With limitless strength, Kamsa dragged the demon from outer space to the earth and made him vomit blood. Next, when a powerful demon in the form of a duck named Bakasura, it's another one I want to write down, tried to swallow him, Kamsa made it fall with a single punch that was as hard as a thunderbolt. So that's Bakasura. Lifting himself up, the white-winged demon made a sound like thunder and angrily swallowed Kamsa with its sharp beak. So it seems like that's what he does. He gets angry at his prey and then he swallows him. When he was swallowed, Kamsa became so angry that his body became hard like a thunderbolt. Its throat breaking, the great duck Bakasura spat Kamsa out at once. Kamsa grabbed Bakasura and threw him to the ground. As they continued to fight, Kamsa grabbed him with both hands, whirled him around, and dragged him here and there. Today, we have another meaning to the word dragged, but it feels the same on the inside to our emotions. Then, Bakasura's sister. Okay, now if you're thinking, why? Why are all these demons males? Nope. We had all family lineage. Bakasura's sister Putana came and wanted to fight. Kamsa laughed and said, hear my words, O Putana, I'll never fight with a woman. Bakasura has become my brother, and so you can be like my sister. Seeing that Kamsa had apparently unlimited strength, Narakasura accepted defeat. He made friendship with Kamsa, in which they formed an alliance against the demigods. Okay, we can get through the end of Kamsa's reign of terror. Let's see. Sri Narada continued. Accompanied by Pralamba and the other demons he had defeated, Kamsa went to the city of Shambhara and challenged him. Although he was very powerful, Shambhara did not want to fight. Instead, he made friends with Kamsa and all his very powerful allies. You ever play Mario Kart and they tell you can have all these allies? I feel like that's Kamsa now, just walking around with a crew of demoniac friends. They're all traveling together as one big old demon posse, like woo. So, a very powerful demon named Vyoma slept on the summit of Mount Trikuta. When Kamsa awakened him with a kick, his eyes became red with rage. Of course, because who wakes somebody up by kicking them? Who are you right now? You don't want to make friends. He stood up and attacked Kamsa with hard punches, and thereafter a terrible battle with fists took place. Kamsa's punches soon weakened Vyoma, however, and made him dizzy. In this way, Kamsa made Vyoma his servant. Kamsa then came to me, Narada still speaking, and bowed down to offer respects. He said, O sage, I yearn to fight. Where should I go? I told him, go to the very powerful demon, Banasura. Well, why are you helping him? He doesn't need anybody else to fight. What are we doing? Thus sent by me, Kamsa, who was filled with pride in the strength of his arms and was looking for a fight, went to the city named Shonita. When he heard Kamsa's challenge, the mighty Banasura became very angry. Banasura is an extremely important demon. One of the most important for me, because that story is one of my favorites. But we'll get to it when we get to it. He kicked the ground and roared like thunder. Indeed, that kick pushed his leg through the ground up to his knee, and his foot reached Patala Loka. They're fighting on the earth, and this man's foot reached down into another realm. Another realm. Like, I know sometimes you can come up out of the subways and feel like you're in another realm, but he really, another realm. At this, Banasura said, please pull me up as I was. Using both hands, the proud and powerful Kamsa pulled Banasura back up, as an elephant pulls up a lotus. By this pulling, the 7 lower planetary systems were devastated. Many great mountains fell, and the sturdy elephants, holding the directions, stumbled. See, there we go, elephants again. They make cameos. They make guest appearances. Seeing that Banasura was eager to fight, Lord Shiva arrived, greeted everyone, and then said to Bali Maharaja's son Banasura, except for Lord Krishna, no one can defeat Kamsa. Lord Parshuram gave him that benediction, and also gave him Lord Vishnu's bow. In this way, Lord Shiva made peace between Kamsa and Banasura, so that they became great friends. Oh, wonderful! Just what we needed! More demon alliances! After hearing of a great demon named Vatsasura, who appeared in the form of a calf, and who lived in the west, King Kamsa fought with him. Kamsa grabbed the calf demon Vatsasura by the tail and threw him to the ground, bringing him under his control. Kamsa next went to the countries of the barbarian Malechas. Having heard about Kamsa from me, it's still Narada speaking, because apparently Narada he goes around instigating all of these fights. The red-bearded demon, Kalyavana, there's another one, picked up a club and went to fight with him. Although I love the details, red-bearded. It's like, that's amazing. Now in my mind, Kalyavana just looks like a huge Viking. Although I don't know if the Vikings would be happy about that, but it's fine. It's fine. Kamsa picked up his club, which weighed 100,000 baras. I have to relook up how much 1 bara is, but it's a lot. It's a very heavy club. And threw it at the barbarian king while roaring like a lion. Thereafter, Kamsa and Kalyavana fought a terrible duel. Indeed, sparks flew from their clubs when they collided, so that finally they were ground into powder. Kamsa then grabbed Kalyavana, threw him to the ground, jumped on him, and beat him so violently that the man almost died. When Kalyavana's army showered him with arrows, the powerful King Kamsa knocked them to the ground with his club. Then as he proceeded to knock down the enemy's elephants, horses, chariots, and soldiers with his club, Kamsa roared like thunder. Finally, the barbarians fled the battlefield. Respecting the code of chivalry. Oh, now you want to respect the code of chivalry. Kamsa did not attack the frightened, fleeing barbarians. Lifting his feet and knees, his thighs like pillars, his waist slender, his chest like a great door, his shoulders broad, his arms massive, his eyes like blooming lotus flowers, his hair long, his complexion ruddy, his garments black, wearing a helmet, earrings, necklace, and a lotus garland effulgent as the sun at the time of cosmic dissolution, wielding a sword, shield, quiver of arrows, and club, proud Kamsa went to Amravati to conquer the demigods. Kamsa was not a bad-looking dude. He also had lotus petal eyes. Go figure. Okay? Who knew? And so, it just kind of goes to show all the people that you think, you think you know what the bad guys look like, or what the good guys look like, or what bad guys do, or what good guys do. And then you go into the Vedas and everything gets all jumbled up. And at a certain point, you're thinking, okay, the only thing that I can term as good is what pleases Krishna. And the only thing that I can term as bad is what displeases Krishna. And that's about all I got. Because everybody's doing questionable things. And then the questionable people are incredibly attractive. Like, what are we supposed to do? Aided by Chanura, Mushtik, Arishta, Shala, Shala, Keshi, Pralamba, Baka, Divida, Trinavarta, Aga, Kuta, Narkasura, Bana, Shambara, Vyoma, Denuka, and Vatsa, Kamsa besieged the city of Amaravati. So he had demons assemble. They ran deep. Seeing that the demons headed by Kamsa had come to attack, Indra, the sovereign king of the demigods, became angry, and accompanied by a great host of demigods went to fight them. A terrible, tumultuous battle was fought, making the hair stand up on end of all who witnessed it. When showers of arrows and other divine weapons created a blinding darkness, King Indra, riding on a chariot, released his thunderbolt at Kamsa. Because what other weapon would the god of rain have other than a huge thunderbolt? How cool is he? With his club, the great demon Kamsa struck the thunderbolt, making it fall broken upon the battlefield. Huh? Yeah, so much for that. It was cool, though. It was. Next, Indra picked up a sword and angrily struck Kamsa on the head, making a terrible sound. What makes you think that a sword is gonna be better than your invincible magical thunderbolt? It's fine. Kamsa was not hurt, however, like an elephant struck by a flower garland. He then picked up a great and heavy club made of 8 metals, weighing 100,000 baras, and threw it at Indra. Seeing it coming, Indra easily caught it. Indra, the killer of Namuchi, threw the club back at Kamsa. In this way, while cutting his enemies to pieces, his chariot driven by Matali... in this way, Indra, cutting his enemies to pieces, his chariot driven by Matali, entered the battlefield. Taking an iron club, Kamsa struck Indra on the shoulder, making him momentarily unconscious. At that time, the Maruts covered Kamsa with a shower of arrows so that it appeared like a monsoon cloud covering the sun. Making a great sound as he utilized many bows with his 1,000 arms, the powerful warrior Banasura drove the Maruts back with his onslaught of arrows. Yes, Banasura has 1,000 arms. He got that one as a benediction. I have to say the demons were quite clever. Because if somebody came and said, ask from me a benediction, I'm not sure that I would be so clear thinking with the foresight. People are asking for, like, may I not meet death by any demigod that has Vishnu at its root. I'm like, can I travel anywhere I want? The benedictions that I'm asking are not well thought out. And I'm going to have to make a benediction bucket list. Like if I ever at some point needed to be the demon that was going to take over the world with magical benedictions, like I need to have my contingency plans because I am not doing the most. These demons. Okay? So 1,000 arms. Surrounding Banasura as a host of elephants might surround a mountain, the Vasus, Rudras, Adityas, Ribus, and Suras attacked the demon with a great variety of weapons. This is just an army of celestial gods. Then, assisted by Pralamba and the other demons, Narkasura let out a terrible roar that made the demigods fall unconscious on the battlefield. Quickly getting up, his eyes red with rage, Indra mounted his furious four-tusked elephant Airavata, provoked by the striking of a goad, trumpeting with its trunk, crushing its enemies under its feet, its rut flowing, unapproachable as a mountain of snow, jingling its chains, moving its trunk here and there, opulent with bells, decorated with a jeweled saddle, and a network of tinkling ornaments. Well, of course, okay? Because you can't be the vehicle of the king of the gods, right? It's like, what do you drive? Oh, a Honda. No. Like he has to be to the T. Its face was decorated with pictures and designs drawn with musk, sindur, and gomutra. And then it started charging at Kamsa. With one hard punch, Kamsa struck the great elephant, and with a second punch, he struck Indra. 1-2 combo. But now with an incredibly celestial large elephant. As a result, Indra fell far down, and the elephant was wounded and also fell to its knees. Again standing up, the king of elephants attacked Kamsa with its tusks, picked him up with its trunk, and threw him a distance of 800,000 miles. Kamsa's body was as hard as a thunderbolt, and so when he fell, he was only a little upset within his heart. Oh, not even on the other. I was only a little upset within my heart, you know. It hurt me in here. Being very angry and his lips trembling, he returned to the battlefield. Kamsa grabbed Airavata, threw him onto the ground, strangled its trunk, and broke its tusks to pieces. While knocking over many great heroes, the elephant Airavata fled the battleground and went back to the capital of the demigods. That's it, I'm out. I can't. Taking the bow of Lord Vishnu and stringing it, the flood of arrows, accompanied by the twanging of the bow, the demon Kamsa made the demigods flee. Ain't that something? God makes a weapon for Lord Shiva to use to kill demons, and then the demon has it and uses it against the very demigods that it was forged to protect. Isn't that just something? Like that, I have to say that must be one of the most annoying things. And I feel like he did it deliberately. You're like, hey, look, remember this? Watch as it dispenses justice upon all of you. Also, I feel like video games and comic books have nothing on Vedic history. So I love Vedic history. As Kamsa continued to attack and kill them, the dispirited demigods fled in all directions. Some, their helmets lost, screamed in terror. Some, dropping their weapons and armor, humbly surrendered with folded hands. Oh no. Others, very troubled, had lost all desire to stand before King Kamsa. Seeing how the demigods had fled, Kamsa took Indra's throne and parasol and returned with all the demons to his capital city of Mathura. Also, what he did was, when he gets back home, because there are so many tribes living under the direction of Maharaj Ugrasena, they all also flee. It says that some of them make excuses about visiting relatives in far off places, and then they just never come back. Which I always was like, oh, I gotta go visit my sick grandma, and then they just never come back. Like, oh, I gotta go take care of my family. We gotta wait till this demon has been dealt with. This is why Kamsa was such a problem. One guy with an inflated ego and some really badly given benedictions, right? The strength was misplaced. And Kamsa becomes the bane of the existence of the earth, making everyone tremble with fear wherever he goes. Interestingly enough, I'm always like, oh, what about that propensity in all of us? The one that wouldn't mind conquering in all directions. The one that wouldn't mind necessarily, saying to people, look, we'll fight. And if you win, I'll be your servant, no problem. But if I win, I'll make you mine. Right? Only to amass all of these followers. Because at this point, Kamsa was just conquering. He didn't need wealth. He could have lived peacefully. He could have been the king of so many different tribes and provinces and areas and kings. But that wasn't enough for him. this unsatisfied desire for power, this ambition that is like a forest fire. Just look at how far reaching it goes. With that ambition, he took over the entire universe, took over the seat of the king of the heavens, which, I feel like that's on the demon to-do list. Like, first step is take over Indra's. Like, Indra's position's been taken over so many times. We've often joked in our family that, like, at this point, Indra has a hidden summer home. Like, as soon as there's a new demon, it's like, oh, well, everybody pack up, time to go. Like, we're just gonna go to the summer home. The amount of times that they have to flee, anytime anything is happening, it's like, well, time to go. I'm like, it's a wonder you ever unpack from the last fleeing. So yeah, I mean, we sometimes think it would be great to be demigods with these responsibilities and all these powers and things, but they're suffering just like the rest of us. There's always somebody trying to take their positions and their posts and take over their jobs and use their jobs for evil. It's not great. They don't live at home half the time. Always on the move. Always in a mood of surrender because they have to be. I mean, it makes you wonder. It's like, you ever just get tired, Indra? Like, you get just really tired in your soul from having to do all of these fights. But this is what we sign up for. So yeah, I don't envy the demigods, their positions, their power, all of their responsibility. It's a big deal. Which, when we hear then about Krishna offering these positions to other people, other pure devotees, the pure devotees usually are like, it's okay. If I can just not forget you, that's fine. And I think rightfully so. I think they've seen so much. In just a little over an hour, we've seen so much. At a certain point, like, this list of demons was making my head spin. And I like, Kamsa, when do you have time for anything else? He doesn't. His full-time job is conquering. And if we could just have the determination and the dedication of demons. Forget having the dedication and determination of devotees. If we could just have the dedication and determination of a demon, the ambition that it takes for them to go after what they want, they're willing to put in austerity for hundreds of years. Me, my little austerity on one Ekadashi is enough. Like, I am like counting down until like sunrise on Dwadasi. Like, when is give me the time stamp down to the minute when I can stop this austerity. And it's not even that much austerity. They don't even want me to drink Durva grass juice. And it's like, it's like, just stay away from grains and beans. I'm like, oh my God, for how long? So yeah, I've often said, if I could learn anything, it's from these demons. It's their determination. Their dedication to the goal is fixed. If we could be like that as devotees, we'd be unstoppable. We'd be seeing Krishna with us all the time. There was a really sad comment on one of my videos. And the comment was kind of just, there was no hello, hi, no nothing. It was just, I have gotten nothing from this spiritual practice. I've been practicing for 36 years. That was it. I don't even know what they were referring to. And I was thinking, I was like, that's so sad that this mindset besieges us. It attacks us, trying to conquer us. Like, our minds are for real, like Kamsa. Every day our minds wake up and they say, okay, I'll do battle with you. If you defeat me, you can make me your servant. But if I defeat you, you're definitely going to be mine. And every day somehow we lose against our own minds, becoming the servant of this tyrant who's constantly telling us, you've never gotten anything out of this spirituality, whichever spiritual path it is. God's never been there for you. When there are innumerable times, more times than we can even fathom. But this Kamsa in here, that Kamsa is determined. And every day wakes up and makes the same offer. So we're going to fight today. I just want to get to the point where I stop engaging in these duels. Where my mind says, should we duel today? And I finally say, no, I don't want to duel today. You're not in charge. I am in charge. All you can do is offer. That's all you can do. The only thing you can really do is offer. It's up to me whether or not I accept. Stop accepting those duels. Don't do it. Don't let Kamsa's reign of terror get you. Because the mind will try. The mind will try so hard because that gives us our sense that, we're in control. If there's no spirituality, no God, no whatever that can do anything to me, for me, whatever, I'm in control. And all is well. But is it really? Because once we've conquered, then we got to keep it. And there's always something more to be conquered. There's always somebody stronger. In the case of Kamsa, even with Banasura, there was somebody stronger. Lord Shiva himself had to guys, can we chill with the contests? We don't need this. There's only one person who can kill him, and I'm not gonna let anybody kill you. So we're not doing this. Because Banasura happened to be personally protected by Lord Shiva. Story for a different day, you have to come back. But personally protected. So I wanna stop accepting when my mind says, hey, you want a duel? No, I do not want a duel. I absolutely do not want to duel. I want you, mind, to go sit down someplace. Go sit down, focus on something else. Because it's not doing anything for me. So next week, we'll dive into chapter 2. Now that we've got real good solid background on why Kamsa needed to go. Now we'll see how he's not going to go for a while. Just as we've reached the point of the greatest intensity and dire need, now we'll stick with this hellish condition for about another decade. Which just goes to show, if you've been praying for something and you're like, I've been praying for this for years, where is God? Yeah, you and a whole bunch of other people. They've been praying for it too. They were praying for Kamsa to go for a long time. And then even after Krishna is born, everybody's woohoo, everybody's happy. And they still were praying for Kamsa to go for 10, 11 long years. And I'm sure it felt long. Because when you're in it, when you're in that dark tunnel, it feels long. But this is faith. The fact that they were still able to hold that faith and keep going. The fact that they were able to have faith in their friend and keep going. The fact that they did not feel as though the Lord had forsaken them and they kept going. So if you feel like you've been practicing spirituality for decades and you feel like you've gotten nothing, one, it's not true. Do not believe what the mind is telling you. Not in this case. It's not true. We've been saved more times than we know. And I'm always drawn back to the same point. You want to see a miracle? Do this. I don't know how it worked. I'm not in control of it working. I'm telling myself that I was in charge of that action, but now I've done that again 3 more times. In the midst of talking. Involuntarily. There are things that are going on involuntarily, right? In a science, like involuntary reflex. It's what happens. Babies breathe. It's what they do. The body just, it does it. That's a miracle. It's miraculous. Because I'm not sitting here going, you want to see a miracle? Okay, wait, hold on. Let me just make sure that my lungs are booted up properly and I've closed down the other apps that are functioning in my body so that my body can just focus on making my lungs work, because I can't have too many tabs open at the same time. Everything is working seamlessly. And none of the hardware or software crashes. It's amazing. Even for science, they can explain kind of how, but not the why. Right? You can always explain kind of how, but not, no. Not just why. Not just like, oh, well, your lungs need to take, this is why your lungs need to, no. Why these things? Why these weird shaped things? Stuck in the middle of a rib cage, and who thought that up? Who made this prototype and design? Why? That's miraculous. That's miraculous. So, and also equally more miraculous, and we find this analogy so much within Krishna book, right? You've got, fine. If all you believe in is science, cool. But what they say is no one ever stops to think, who made the mind of the scientist? And that always with me, I was like, you're right. You are right, Krishna book and Srila Prabhupada. You should be a spiritual teacher. Because how often? I only believe in science. Who made the mind of the scientist? Because some people get it, right? Some people's minds work that way. Some people's minds don't. Because then who made the mind of the artist? They're everyday miracles and they're everywhere. And if we allow ourselves, we'll get so jaded that we don't see anything. Operating from that place of fear is seeing all these miracles around us and it looking pitch black. Complete darkness. Operating from a place of faith is seeing the darkest depths of a pitch black looking situation and understanding that there's bioluminescence everywhere. Super cool. That's my rant on fear versus faith. I'm moving more towards the side of the bioluminescence just because I think that is so cool. That there is a spiritual person, like, there was just like, you know what? Let's make everything light up. Why? Because like the world could use a little bit more of this. Everything light up. Go ahead. I think that's the coolest thing ever. And like really, I'm like, wait a second, and you don't have to do anything for it. You just light. Yeah, that's what I do. That's us. That's our souls. That's what we're supposed to do. We keep trying to change it. Why would I want to light up and be all bright and effulgent? Whoa. Somebody cover that up with some dirt. Or like some insecurity and self-doubt. Quick! Before somebody catches on that I'm special. So yeah, I'm moving towards walking in faith. Getting more in touch with that bioluminescence spiritually. Because we've all got it. And let's stop covering that up. It's not a good look. That's not cute. Thanks for being with me. This session went a little bit longer, but I kind of felt like it was really important to get through all of Kamsa's conquests. And there are more, but that was just like a few, the beginning, the main examples. And I also like it because, those names will come back up, and when they do, we'll be reminding each other, like, remember? See what Kamsa did? Now let's see what else happens. And we'll remind each other because, spoiler alert, I want to say About 90% of these demons die at the hands of Krishna. Some of them stay around, but about 90% of them die at the hands of Krishna before he is 12. Kamsa went and conquered for long and hard for all this, okay? Throwing people 800,000 miles, all this stuff, before he was 12. That's God. And a pretty cool God at that. So I'm looking forward to next week when we get into chapter 2, prayers by the demigods for the Lord Krishna in the womb. It's gonna be one of those ones. I actually like this one because it gives a very sweet view of Devaki, but also I always found that very off-putting. As a person who has been pregnant, it would be very strange if all of a sudden there was a crowd of people, you're just trying to rest, get through morning sickness, and there are people offering prayers loudly in song, because it's not just a soft murmuring event. Like they're jubilantly, intensely offering prayers to the unborn child in your womb. It's awkward. And I like that it actually is awkward every time it happens. It happens for Krishna, it happens for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and every time the mom always is like, oh, this is strange. Okay. And I appreciate that because that's real. That is real. I can tell you there were times when I was just like, look, I'm going to take a nap. And if anybody awakens me from this nap, you might say goodbye to your existence. Go ahead. Just try it. Try it. So, I can only imagine. But the verses are pretty. The prayers are wonderful. And my dear friend Karnamrita, she had a beautiful song. And it's beautiful prayers to Devaki. And it's one of the, well, not one of, but one of several times where you get to see how this wonderful woman is just prayed to. I feel like when demigods start offering prayers, depending upon who they're offering them to, the prayers, of course, they change. It's not just like copy paste. We copy paste that from the other time we prayed for the Lord in the womb. We just, can you please accept? Can we just ditto the whole thing? We just arrive and all say at once, ditto. But it's nice to see how they morph depending upon who they're praying to and how they're personalized, which always helped me remember that when I'm praying, I should personalize them. This is why normally when you hear of prayers, you think, does God need our flattery? Like, I feel like God already knows who he is. Does he need us to flatter him? Like, you're the Lord of all. But actually, this is the process of personalizing. Let's personalize the prayer so that not only do you know, Lord, who's praying, but you know that I know what our relationship is. And so whenever I'm praying, I often try and bring in those personal things, the personal aspects, where not only is it just you're the cause of all causes, not only is it just you make the entire universe move, but also I'm also the person who's like, but also remember when you saved me from so-and-so, and remember when you worked the magic with that other time. Great. Can you also once again intervene in my life? And I feel like this is the demigods. You're like, oh Lord, oh killer of, and they'll often give like a long line of demons that this person has killed. It's not just flattery. It's every single one of those demons is a time you saved us personally. So we'll get to look at the prayers of Lord Krishna to Lord Krishna, the prayers of the demigods to Lord Krishna. Here we go. In as with Devaki as a liaison. Poor Devaki, she just wanted to hang out. She just wanted to chill out. She didn't want to be bothered. She was just in her jail cell, like that's also another thing. I was like, why did they have this poor lady pregnant year after year in a jail cell? That does not seem comfortable. But I mean, the parents of God take on voluntarily so much austerity. Makes me look at my Akadashi differently. With that in mind, I'm gonna happily fast this day. Happily that I am not in a jail cell, right? Happily that I am not awkwardly pregnant with people offering obeisance to my womb. Okay? I'm gonna fast. Thankful for a lot of things. But most of all, thankful for all of you. Thanks for being with me. We'll come back again next week. Um, we'll share more laughs. We'll be more real with it. I kind of really like these gatherings because I get to really be real and talk about the things that make sense and some of the things that confuse me along the way. We get to make sense of it together. So thank you, thank you, thank you. You all are wonderful. I'm thinking of doing something for the patrons after each episode. I feel like I want to put a little trivia. I really like trivia. So there might be trivia polls. Look out for it. Look out for it. Because I'm going to go write the trivia poll right after. So look out for it. And if you haven't joined Patreon, you probably should, because I keep promising that it's going to get fun. It's already fun. It's going to be more and more fun. Don't miss out on all the fun, because all the cool kids will make fun of you. I'm going to start it. Until then, love you all dearly. Shri Krishna Chandra Bhagavan ki jai. Shri Radha Govinda Dev ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. All glories to this podcast and all of our friends who come and be with us all the time, help us see through. Until next time, see you soon.